All right. So, our step number one on healing through this process is going to be feeling your feelings. And uh, feeling your feelings when you're uh, numb and anxious, which is where you're at right after the shock of discovering this betrayal. Okay. It's a challenging thing. And so I want to give you a couple of steps to feeling your feelings. Okay. Because when you're feeling your feelings, this is where all of your power comes from. Feelings are fuel. Okay. Any behavior that you would like to have in your life has to be fueled by a feeling. Okay. So you get to pick what the fuel is that you put in your tank. And that fuel could be bitterness and resentment. That fuel could be shame. That fuel could be happiness. That fuel could be hope. That fuel could be love. And I hope that you can see as I say those feelings that you're going to get different outcomes based off of the fuel that you're putting in your tank. Okay. And so the fuel that you're putting in your tank, I want you to get really used to identifying what that fuel is and feeling what it does to your body and to your nervous system. So if you're feeling a lot of shame because, oh, I should have seen all of these red flags and I didn't listen to my gut and I knew this was going on, but I just didn't want to see it. If you're feeling all of those shame based feelings, okay, then you might feel it right here in your chest. You might feel it constricting your throat. You might notice your hands like they start to shake. You might notice your hands getting clammy. You might notice like your face is flushing. Um, so these are the kinds of shame based feelings that I want you to be able to identify in your body and describe it to yourself, like I just did. Like, oh man, I'm noticing my hands are clammy. Like, I'm noticing my toes are really cold. And I want you to be able to label those um, the body symptoms of the feelings so that when you feel it, it's easy to identify. Oh, I'm feeling shame right now. Well, I guess now I know that. Okay. So we're going to process the feelings that we're experiencing. Okay. And we want to do this without judgment. So what that means is if you're experiencing shame about something, then we're just going to feel the shame about that. If we're experiencing sadness or anger towards our husband, okay, let's go with that one. That's a good one. That's a great one. Let's go about shame to our husband.
Okay.
Okay, our anger. Okay, so we're feeling anger towards our husband for because of this betrayal. All right. I am going to then process that anger. Where do I feel it in my body? Okay, well, it feels a little bit deeper in my chest. It feels hot. It it pushes me to like act. I want to say something, or I want to confront, or I want to run away, or I want to sleep. Okay, however, like everybody deals with anger in different ways. But what we're going to do is just be present with that anger and recognize that of course I feel that anger. I feel and we're going to validate our own experience of that emotion. I feel that anger because he broke my trust. I feel that anger because he just said something that was insensitive and it triggered this trauma response in my body that I'm working on, but right now I'm angry about it and that's okay. Okay? And so we're just rather than saying, and I shouldn't be angry about this anymore because it's been 3 stinking months and I thought I put this behind me, right? We're not going to like layer judgment on top of our experience of the emotion. That's what we want to avoid in this step. Okay. It also doesn't mean that I'm going to husband and I'm like, I'm allowed to be angry at you. Okay. Now, I'm not going to put any judgments on your behavior because that's not my job. Only you get to decide what kind of person you want to show up as in any situation. But I would encourage you not to act out towards other people when you're in the throes of a deep and heady emotion like that, and instead just process that emotion. And processing it means doing what I just talked about, breathing into it, thinking about what it feels like in your body, recognizing the power that it creates in your body. Okay, this is another step to feeling your emotions. Recognizing the power that that emotion creates in your body. Shame is so powerful, and it doesn't motivate us to do anything other than hide, but it is a powerful emotion. So recognize that like your body is capable of creating these really powerful emotions. Anger, very powerful emotion. Joy, exciting and powerful emotion, right? So we have these emotions, just recognize the power behind them and be grateful to your body that your body is able to experience these emotions, because it's when we experience things like shame and anger and resentment and frustration and sadness and loneliness and all of these, what I would call uncomfortable emotions, that make our highs even higher. So we have like these low lows and we have these high highs. So you just get this whole like breadth and depth of emotion when you experience the low ones along with the high ones. So recognize that this is all part of your mortal experience. Breathe into the emotions. Ruth.
Question. Okay, so any tricks, tips, numbers, whatever? Because the way I understand, the way I experienced shame, shame is because of judgments. Like shame is present because of the judgments I have about either my behavior or I observed somebody else have similar behavior and then I judged them and now I walk through those judgments and it sucks. So tricks to going through an experience that is based on judgment without having judgment. I mean, calling a coach, 1000% might be the answer.
Yeah.
Is there a tip?
Yeah. Experiencing shame specifically, Sherry made a comment on this. I can't remember which video it was, but shame is a emotion that leads us to want to hide and want to feel like we're the only ones that have ever experienced it. And Sherry, you sound like a Brene Brown fanatic when I heard you talking about it. um, but the remedy for that one is speaking to the shame, right? And not on a Facebook format. Like, we're not talking about getting on Facebook and making a comment about how you feel shame. We're
Mhm.
talking about finding a unique and special person in your life that can hold your space for you while you're experiencing that shame. And it's very likely that if you're at the recovery moment of betrayal trauma, that that person is probably not your husband, because your husband's going to be dealing with his own shame around the whole situation and may not, I'm not saying it is not, I'm saying may not. You have to judge your own situation, but may not be a person who can hold your shame without like
Piling theirs on
without
top of
not
it.
being able to manage it, but piling hairs on top of it,
Yeah.
right? And then like telling you why you shouldn't feel that way.
Mhm.
We want somebody that's going to validate your experience. And so a counselor, life coach, best friend, these are people that would be ones to tell you, remind you that you're not alone, that other people deal with this, and to help you appease your shame. And if you really don't want to talk to anybody about it, which I strongly recommend that you talk to somebody about it, but you could also do a journal entry as a first step that might make you feel more comfortable, and try and give yourself the advice that your best friend would give you. Um, so write out what you're feeling shameful about and then ask yourself, okay, if my best friend came to me with this advice, what would I tell her? And treat yourself like your own best friend. Another good way to combat the shame.
Okay.
But yeah, shame is just an emotion that says you should have done something differently than you did,
Mhm.
which is silly because you shouldn't have done anything differently than you did. And we know that because you didn't do it.
Yeah. And even if you can't do anything more than you know, and lots of times you can't know it until you do it. So
Yeah.
it's this weird, crazy making
So
cycle. But yeah.
also shame. Um, shame is notorious for telling us that we are bad. So
Mhm.
like you should have known, therefore you're a bad person.
Yeah.
Like you are inherently
Mhm.
bad. Where guilt is like you should have known better and you shouldn't have done that thing. The thing that you did was bad, not you are bad.
Mhm.
And shame really has us like internally thinking we are bad people. Like I
It's
am
something we can't separate from or improve.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's why it's
Yeah,
like,
it's just
don't
a
let
label
anybody
that's like
know.
pasted onto me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.